All right, let's talk some Detroit Lions football. Talk about the Lions possibly being interested in Prince Amukamara. So is the Bills, and I think it's another team that's also interested in the former first-round draft pick. Also, we're going to talk about some other corner candidates that could help them out. I did hear Darryl Roberts did return to practice, so that is a good thing. But let's get into it. Hit that subscribe button, bell icon button, share the video. But first off, let's talk about Jeff Okudah. Jeff Okudah might be forced into fire. Last week would have been a perfect week for him to start versus Mitchell Trubisky, I believe, to ease him on in. But now he get baptized by fire by Aaron Rodgers. Now you got a lot of people saying that, easy in hindsight saying it, but I think we all said it. The Lions should have kept Darius Slay and paid him. You know, easily they should have done that. But I was preaching that. Nobody wanted to listen. But, you know, with Okudah, you know, this season could turn around real hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mean turn around the good way. I mean, it could turn around in the bad way real quick, fast, in a hurry. And, you know, just boil down to the Lions being cheap. But with Okudah, you know, what better way to go to Lambeau Field with no fans and take on Aaron Rodgers with one of his worst receiving cores. But still, Rodgers make receivers look good. I think we all can talk about that. Rodgers will walk into him and make him catch the ball most of the time. But, you know, Okudah said he's ready for anything, and that's where his confidence level got to be at. Even if he get beat on some plays, his confidence level got to stay up. And this is what I was trying to articulate to a lot of the fans out there, is that the cornerback position is a marination position. And one thing I didn't account for, I thought the offseason was going to be regular and not irregular, but it was irregular. There was no mini camps, there was no OTAs, it was all virtual, so you couldn't get those reps in. You know what I'm saying? And I said it wasn't, you know, the last two drafts wasn't a good draft in the first round. Not saying Hockenson and Jeff Okudah really wasn't good players, but marination positions for the Lions. And when you talk about marination, it's take a couple, you know, years to get their feet wet for them to probably hit the ground running. And they did it again, and then they did it in the pandemic with Jeff Okudah, you know, where he didn't even get those reps versus other rookies and versus voluntary veterans that chose to come in and work out. So right now, his learning curve is big, and at the end of the day, we've seen a lot of really good corners come into the league. They had a lot of good promise and a lot of DBs, you know, Michael Huff, you know, Morris Claiborne went high. We're going to talk about him in a minute. We've seen a lot of these dudes, a lot of these guys that went high, D. Milliner. Sometimes it's injury, but a lot of times it's confidence. A lot of times it's like, if you got a young dog and he has a traumatic experience and another dog roughs him up, he's never the same. He's always gun shy. And that can happen to a corner easily. Confidence is probably the number one attribute a corner got to have. If you don't have confidence, you can't play that position on an island. Not in this era, because you can't grab, you can't hold them, ain't no stick them. You know, you basically playing hands-free football. So one of the things you risk is wrecking Okudah's confidence, you know, for the rest of his career, him not being the same. Now, you think you got a resilient player and all that, and I believe he is resilient. I believe he gonna have to be ready. He gonna have to be ready, like Ronnie Bass in Remember the Titans. You know, and he gonna have to get out there and play. You know, they pretty much swapped Darius Slay and Jeff Okudah and Desmond. They swapped Jeff Okudah and Desmond Trufant for Darius Slay. That's basically what the deal was. And it's funny how fans forget how good certain players is. As soon as players leave Detroit, it ain't like Darius Slay said, I want to leave. He tried to renegotiate a contract. The Lions didn't want to pay him. Similar to Kenny Galladay, and I might address that later tonight. And if it turned out if Galladay, you know, want more money, or they can't reach a deal and they move Galladay, these fans gonna turn against Galladay. Man, remember these same fans turned against Barry Sanders. And if Jeff Okudah do the same thing and his contract come up and the Lions don't want to pay him and they move him and they try to make him a scapegoat, the fans gonna go against Jeff Okudah. And it's crazy, man. You talking about, you know, since 1957, it's been like that, and the fans been going against the grain, and some outstanding people. They went against the grain on Calvin Johnson for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Calvin retired because he was tired of getting beat up and losing at the same time. The nicks and the bruises and the fractures in the nicks, they don't hurt as bad when you're winning. If Calvin was winning and he was playing with Tom Brady or in a winning system with Peyton, Calvin Johnson still be playing to this day. Well, with Jeff Okudah, he got no other choice but to be ready. You know, nickel, outside corner, whatever the situation may be, he has no choice. And watch, you know, as soon as he give up a big play, people gonna start to question his draft status. Oh, he should have went with this guy and that guy. But I told you guys, the cornerback position is a position that it takes time to learn. You have some guys come in and hit the ground running. Marshawn Lattimore, his former Ohio State Buckeye teammate. Marcus Peters that went to Washington. But other than that, you don't have a lot of guys that hit the ground running and say they better than, let's say, 50% of people at their position as a rookie. You don't get that all the time. That position has become more difficult and difficult year by year throughout the team in the National Football League. It's just the honest truth. It's the God honest truth. So if he go out there and he have a bad game, he get baptized. Don't forget, Darius Slay got baptized in the beginning. And the next year he came back bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic, and smarter. But to be honest, they wouldn't. I mean, if your bacon on the line and your balls on the line, you know, we talk about Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, why would you sit there and go with a washed-up Trufant and go with a rookie Jeff Okudah? Now remember, they didn't have any ambitions on Amani Orakwe starting. Don't forget that. They thought it was going to take him another developmental year. I don't know what they thought about him. So they was going in the mind of Justin Coleman starting, Okudah and Desmond Trufant starting on the outside. That's what they thought. They thought Jeff Okudah was a plug-and-play year one player. And I said he wasn't. You know, and I look who he went up against the Big Ten, I say, no. It's going to take the young bull some time, but it is what it is. You got to live with that mistake. And we can move on from it. Y'all can blame Bob Quinn all you want to. But it really don't boil down to him wanting to pay Darius Slay. It boiled down to the ownership. But I really think it boiled down to, I think it boiled down to Patricia. But so let's continue on, right? They worked out Prince Amukamara, right? I have no problem with it. It was some corners out there they could have got early on for the low. The Lions is just cheap and they dumb. They could have got Drake Kirkpatrick. They could have got Darquez Denard, who still has some potential. He's a perfect player for Matt Patricia's system. He's a press corner that love man to man. He came out of Ohio State a few years ago, didn't work in the back for the Bengals, whatever reason it was, but he can ball, you know. So you know they had guys out there like him. They didn't want to go get those guys. They didn't want to spend a little change. Instead, they wanted to pay Tony McRae pennies to go out there and get torched. And this is what happens when you get cheap. You get cheap with the wrong things. So, you know, at the end of the day, it was some corners to be had for the low out there. You know, you got to anticipate, you know, in the most important position, having the strength there. Like the defensive line when Nick Williams hurt. You know, who else they got behind Nick Williams? Just John Panisi and what? Kevin Strong, whatever his name is, on the practice squad. They put no depth. They put no interest or no stock in the D-line or backing up the cornerbacks. They thought Jeff Okudah, Trufant, and Coleman and Amani Orakwe and Mike Ford and Tony McRae was going to be enough. It's never enough in the National Football League when you talk about running backs, pass catchers, and you're talking about Nick cornerbacks. So he could have had Drake Kirkpatrick for the low. He could have had Darquez Denard for the low. But you know what? Prince Amukamara, he got cut by the Raiders because one of the in the offseason or in training camp, because one of the young corners they did over there, Arnett, played unexpectedly well for them. So Amukamara would be pretty good. He could hold down the fort. And then you don't have to rush Trufant or Coleman to get back. I would put Okudah in the nickel. I think he could play some nickel. It's going to be hard, but, I mean, that's what I would do. Also, I would look at Morris Claiborne. He a good man corner. I mean, that's what he's known for coming out of college, was manning up. And he hasn't been that guy in the National Football League, but, hey, he cheap. He can play man defense. He a veteran. And I think, you know, the terminology in the National Football League, The plays don't change, just the terminology does. So a cover 3 is a cover 3 everywhere. Cover 4 is a cover 4. Man is man. Combination zone, man, 2 men under. You know, the terminology is just what he got to pick up on. And as long as he's been in the National Football League, he should be able to pick up on that terminology, in my opinion. But those are the 2 guys that's the best on the market for them right now that I see. There was a lot of corners on the market during training camp. So the Lions really, it's like if you play DFS, and that's daily fantasy sports like FanDuel or DraftKings, and we got a saying that you love the way you think your lineup before a lock happens. And lock means the time that you can't change your lineup unless it's late swap. So once you lock your lineup, you think your lineup look like Beyonce, and then you turn, and then once you know your line, once you get locked in and the games get to start going, she look like Frida Jackson. You know what I'm saying? She look ugly. And that's the Lions. The Lions think they like defensive line and cornerbacks look sexy, you know, and as soon as the season comes, they look ugly. She take her lashes off, her eyebrows, you know, they go back to normal. The makeup fall off. All she do is got a big butt and some nice rack and a nice rack, you know, and then the rest of her body ugly. That's how the Lions is. You know, as soon as the season started, she started to get undressed. Her lashes started to fall off, and she started to look like just the ordinary. No, she looked way worse than the ordinary person. And that's just how the Lions, you know, this is how the Lions rock out, man. I question Bob Quinn's and Matt Patricia's football IQ, man. I could build a team better than they could. And every year we say the same thing. D-line need depth. D-line need depth. And they just fail to look at it the way we look at it. And when the season comes, the fans are more right than not. But, I mean, you know, it is what it is on that standpoint. They don't know nothing about football. They've been exposed. People was in the comment section asked me earlier, oh, why shouldn't they be fired? Why would you fire your coach week 1 when you had all off season to fire them? You might as well let them play it out until it get to the point where you got to fire them by Thanksgiving. But, you know, most people don't know nothing. Oh, fire him week 1. Why the fuck would you fire him week 1? Then you really become the laughing stock in the NFL. Why they didn't fire Patricia last year when they could have had the, you know, any coaching candidate they wanted to have. You don't do that. You know, you roll with them this year. You roll with it till it becomes super ugly. If they start off 1-7, or they go into Thanksgiving winless or eliminated from the playoffs, and they look bad on Thanksgiving in a syndicated national televised game, then you get rid of them. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Don't forget, we on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Reach out if you got business, question, inquiry, sponsorship, video requests. Keep sharing the videos. Want to make a donation to the channel? Cash App, PayPal description. Best way to donate is to share the video. Appreciate the love, support. I'm about to go up in the best Walmart in Metro Detroit. That's the one in Livonia on 7 Mile Middle Belt. I don't really never have a problem going in here. Now the one in Dearborn, that belongs on the east side, easily. You know, but I appreciate the love, support. Keep sharing the videos. Don't forget to check out my other channel, Goodfellas Sports TV. One time we gone.